Good evening, all. And I know you just saw us this morning and this afternoon for a couple hours, but we're back here for the Sports Insanity Network reaction to the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 in one of the best Super Bowls I've watched in the last few years. This was a hard-fought game. The MVP is correct. We predicted the Chiefs winning, and there were some questionable calls in this game. Not many, but a couple. But we're going to dive right in, and we're going right to Noah, the weatherman Trombley here. Noah, you weren't with us this morning, so you're going to get to bring it all together.
This was a very, very fun game. This was an extremely good Super Bowl. Both these teams, just both the offenses lit this field up. Jalen Hurts had the game of his life. Devontae Smith had the real game of his life too. He was making plays out there, unbelievable plays down the field. But then, of course, you got KC. And Patrick Mahomes just proved once again why he is the best quarterback in this league. And I don't think it's even close now. He put the stamp on it, and he gutted through yet another twist of the ankle at the end of the first half. I think that's going to be a huge point of this game is Patrick Mahomes gets tripped up on that ankle. He's limping off the field, clearly in pain. And what does he do? He goes in halftime, comes out, and plays a perfect second half. And there's a lot to talk about this game. So we'll get into all that. But, I just have to say, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in this league, and Andy Reid is the best coach in NFL history. I think he's making a case for that. These two can win. I think it might be blasphemous to say these two could probably give Brady and Belichick a run for their money in terms of Super Bowl and accomplishments.
I think you're 100% right there. Dan.
It was a very fun game. By the way, I agree with you. Andy Reid is making a nice case of being probably the best coach of all time. Again, I know the championship numbers aren't quite there, but the team is always consistent. Like there's only been like a couple of years within his head coaching career, where Andy Reid has had bad seasons. Other than that, his teams have consistently made the playoffs, made a run at the Super Bowl and stuff. So I can agree with that. Overall, this was a very fun game. But once again, like the AFC Championship game, I feel like there was a call at the end, we're going to get to it, where it robbed us of what could have been a potential wild finish, potential unbelievable ending to what was going to be a great Super Bowl. And it was a great Super Bowl, no matter what. But let me just say this. Kudos to the Chiefs for hanging in there, because it seemed like even though Philly didn't take a big lead, they did have the momentum going into halftime, especially with Mahomes getting hurt with the ankle again. So you're thinking everything's going to break Philly's way, but then the second half comes and the Chiefs completely take over the game. Time of possession, yards gained. Obviously, the points, it was not even close. Chiefs won the second half easily. Like, this was just a tremendous showing by the Chiefs in the second half to come back and win the game. Philly did very well in the first half. Time of possession was amazing. Hurts was outstanding. I still think he was outstanding throughout the entire game. Like I didn't think there was a moment where I felt that Jalen Hurts didn't do a terrible job. But yeah, maybe a couple of throws and stuff, but that's more credit of a Chiefs defense rather than a Jalen Hurts thing.
Just to say real quick, Dan, the only thing I could really discredit Hurts with was that fumble, which was kind of bad.
Yeah.
You got in that situation, maybe take care of the football. That is 7 points taken off the board there. But again, you couldn't ask Hurts to do any better than what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought he had a good first half, shaky second half, but again, nothing wild where I would place the blame on him for losing the Super Bowl. So it was a really good game. I'm was really satisfied, but not the ending. We'll get to that.
And from our special guest, Andy Reid's here tonight.
I am, guys. I went from
God,
my
Andy, you
interview
got
with
back to New
Terry
York so quick.
Bradshaw to being here. I'd rather spend my time with you guys than Terry Bradshaw. That's all I'm going to say. His reality show stunk.
I can't
Shots
believe Terry
fired.
Bradshaw said to Andy Reid, "Come on, waddle over here." I could not believe he said that.
I got to be honest with you, Fox. Can we just have Strahan do the trophy presentation or someone else?
Yeah.
At this point, no disrespect to Terry Bradshaw, but like, it's over, dude. But to Dan's point on the second half, the Chiefs outscored Philly 24-11 in the second half. Like, and I think this is for me where a big difference. There were two things that really made a difference. One was that opening drive in the second half, where we didn't know about Mahomes' ankle, and then he had that long scramble
Yeah.
into inside the 5, I believe. And the other thing is this: I think the Eagles got away from who they were. So I have the ESPN box score up on my phone. If you take away Jalen Hurts, Eagles running backs had 17 carries for 45 yards. Eagles running backs ran for 45 yards. Jalen Hurts ran for 70 on his own. Philly
And 3 scores.
And 3 scores, but I'm just looking at the yards here. But that's not who Philly's been. Philly's been this running back by committee. We're going to run it down your throats kind of thing. They kind of got away from that for whatever the reason was. And this isn't because Jalen Hurts had a bad game, but that was their identity all year.
And I mean, I made a comment early on when Miles Sanders was not being seen, and you're seeing Gainwell and otherwise.
Yeah, that was weird.
Gainwell and Sanders had 7 carries each.
Right. And the question is, it's not like Philadelphia was down 30 points and you had to abandon the run. Why was Miles Sanders not a part of this offense?
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. The timing of the flag, I'm sure we'll get to at some point, is critical. But I want to know from Philly, you didn't use your running backs to the degree I thought you would have.
Mm-hmm.
And your defense played like crap.
Oh, that
in the
defense
second half.
That defense crumbled in the second half.
They didn't pressure Mahomes. Travis Kelce had his fair share in the first half. Then they spread the wealth, whether it was Tony or Juju in the second half.
There were 2 blown coverage touchdowns for the Chiefs. Just blown, guys wide open.
Yeah, Sky Moore and Tony, those touchdowns were huge.
And fair enough. And I don't know if you guys know this, but then the Chiefs had one where they just blew a Devontae
Smith was wide open.
Blew it. I'm like, what is going on? Why are there just so many blown coverages in this game?
I also didn't understand how Devontae Smith just went out of bounds when he had the touchdown right there.
Well, I think he because off the catch, he was trying to lean.
Keep yourself in bounds, Devontae. You're going to score.
Well, they got the touchdown anyway.
They did.
Yeah.
But
you want to know who was unsung? Dallas Goedert. I mean, he had a good game. Made some great catches in some key moments, but I was very shocked that the running game for Philadelphia disappeared after the first 5 minutes, except for Hurts.
It doesn't make sense. That was their identity all year.
Yeah, it was very weird. I don't understand why you're not running the ball, why you're trying to continue throwing it. I mean, if you want to do some QB design runs with Hurts or some options, fine, but yeah, and you're right, Mark. I was like, where the heck is Miles Sanders? I thought Miles Sanders was hurt at one point. I'm like, is he hurt? Is that why we're not seeing him?
And that's why I had asked in the group, I said, did I miss something with Miles Sanders in the 1 second I didn't look at my TV? So,
And just the flip side for KC, they ran the ball for 158 yards.
Yeah, Pacheco.
what a game.
76, Mahomes 44, McKinnon 34, Sky Moore had a 4-yard run. They averaged 6 yards a carry, Kansas City.
It's we've talked about this all year. Every sports commentary has talked about this all year. The fact that this Kansas City offense traded away their best weapon and then they got better. That's unbelievable.
That's 100%. Yeah.
I mean,
you trade Tyreek Hill to go play in Miami,
and you got better.
Still go to Super Bowl.
It's insane.
It's just the spreading of the wealth.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, you're going to get some Juju. You get some, Oh, we're going to sprinkle in Kadarius Toney at the trading deadline. Huh?
I was about to say, did you guys just hear that? There was about 57 sirens saying we're heading to Philadelphia to go help the city.
I'm going to tell you right now, Philadelphia might wind up being like Vancouver in 2011 after the Canucks lost to the Bruins.
The fact of the flag after that. Oh, yeah. I would not want to be near Philadelphia right now. It's going to be a war zone.
And if I'm Carl Sheffers, I'm not reffing a game in Philly next year.
And if you have the question on what the flag we are talking about is the flag called on 3rd down and what was it,
6.
1 or 2? It was 6? Okay, it was 3rd and 6. And Mahomes overthrew, but a flag was thrown for the wrong reason. It was not holding. It wasn't illegal contact.
Now, I have to say, I just looked at my phone, and apparently Bradbury just did an interview who the flag was on, and he even claimed it was a holding. He said they got the call right.
Okay. I mean, you got to.
He said he messed up. He said he held him. He said I held him.
But the question isn't obviously on TV. We can all see it. He held him, but it's not a matter of whether you get the call right. It's the moment that it's in. This is a Super Bowl down to the wire.
Right.
The refs have to read the room.
I mean, here's my thing I've always said about this. When you got to play like this, it's so quick to where it's did he really hold him that bad? I mean, obviously, if he had tackled Smith-Schuster to the ground, then yes, throw the flag. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Right. But the ball was at least 2 yards over his head.
Yeah, even if Smith-Schuster had gotten the route right, I don't think he could have caught that.
I don't think he would have caught it.
But you see, here's where I'm going to argue against this. Because, Mark, I think you might agree with this. Uncatchable balls have become a thing of the past with the spot pass interference rule. They now don't call balls uncatchable unless it's legitimately out of bounds or whatever it is. So we're at this point where either we're going to have to redefine what an uncatchable ball is, or we're going to have to take spot foul of pass interference away, which I'm totally for as well.
I think I understand the reasons for offensive and defensive pass interference, but offensive pass interference is a 10-yard penalty. Defensive pass interference could be a 59-yard penalty.
Right.
Make it a 15-yard if it's clearly pass interference and not incidental contact. You get tripped up. Then make it a personal foul in 15 yards, and that's it.
And listen, Noah will attest to this. I've been on the officials all year.
Oh, we've all been.
So
yeah.
I'm not giving them a pass for this, but I understand why the flag came into play. Now, if you want to call the play uncatchable, I'm cool with it. But
Mike,
redefine what uncatchable is.
Mike, you've always talked about your list. The refs are on my list right now because
I'm not going to argue.
You've got this. I'm still mad about the whole 3rd and 9 thing with the Chiefs and the Bengals in the AFC title game. I still don't know what the hell happened there.
Listen, I don't think they were solid tonight. There were
missed
times
calls in that game too.
There were multiple calls tonight. Lane Johnson's still moving before snaps.
Yeah, that was
going uncalled. The Eagles keep getting these kept on our play clock. We would get 0 on the play clock, and we're like, delay of game. And I know apparently our play clock isn't in sync with the stadium one, but I still find that to be ridiculous with our time and age that we're in.
yeah.
And there was also it wasn't a penalty. It was a call by the refs, which happened on the Goddard lucky not a catch that they had stopped to let Kansas City to match the offense. I never heard of that rule.
They didn't let him like substitute. That was the whole thing. And
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
I was like learning something new tonight. I'm like, I've never heard this called or even been spoken outward in a game.
And what's crazy, Mark, is it's not like the Eagles were like in a hurry up offense. So the refs were like, hey, like because you went out of bounds, you have to give Kansas State time to substitute. They like went to huddle, got the play, went to the line of scrimmage, and then the refs are like, oh, we didn't let Kansas State substitute. It's like, excuse me?
And then what happens? KC gets another chance to look at that catch and gets to challenge it. Now, luckily enough, I think they said it was the back part of his foot was still down when he got.
So they called it a catch.
So they called it a catch. But you just gave KC a chance by doing that to erase that 30-yard play.
Reed had more time to look at it and be
Exactly.
like, wait, I want to challenge that.
And that's something that's got to be brought up for next year.
This was a horribly reffed game. This was a horribly reffed game, in my opinion.
What did it? Didn't even go 5 minutes, and what was it? Juju who got literally grabbed around the waist in the first quarter, and it wasn't called.
Yeah, the fact that they'll miss calls on some people and then make calls on other, it's like, what are you guys doing?
Mark, I think you bring up a good point on the Juju play from the first half, because think about it was the same matchup on this last one.
Yep.
So I wonder if Juju or the Chiefs said, hey, watch out for this. It's been happening. There you go. There's that call. But the other thing is, I wasn't sure about the Goddard play. I'm still really not sure they got that back foot down.
I said once I saw it, it goes either way. It can go 50-50.
But like to me, if that was called incomplete and then Philly challenged it, I think the call would have stood either way.
Yeah.
But
I don't think there was enough that you really could overturn it, but I understand what Mike Pereira had said, having to do with control of the ball. I did not see it originally pop out of his hands for that split half second.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this soliloquy needs to be said. I don't care if it's Greg Olson, Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, Joe Schmo in the booth. If the rules analyst guy is explaining something, please don't talk over them. We are trying to learn as much as we can off of these guys.
Yeah. All in all, this is going to rank up there as one of the all-time great Super Bowls.
I think it's definitely top 10. Maybe
I would not disagree with either one of those statements. Top 10, top 5. It was a game that I think every football fan deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying deserved because it wasn't a 56-point blowout. This game came down to the final seconds, and that's what the two best teams showed you.
You're right, Mark, because I mean, so many of the games in the playoffs, I mean, every game that Philly played up until this point was just a complete blowout, like snooze fest, because they clearly were better than the Giants. And then San Francisco literally crumbled, like literally with injuries that to the point of like, well, this game's over. And, you know, then KC, I mean, they beat Jacksonville 27-20, but that game was not as close as that score indicated, you know.
Right.
And then, you know, Bills Bengals wasn't close. The only real close game was Niners Cowboys, really.
Right. And
Bills Chiefs. Bengals Chiefs was competitive.
Well, Bengals Chiefs was competitive, but
you know, if you're going to go back to the wild card, I'll still hang my hat on Bills Dolphins. That
somehow was a great game.
Yeah,
that was a great game.
But I think you brought up a good point too about Philly. Like they blitzkrieg the Giants, and they capitalized on a situation against San Francisco.
I mean, when you
They-
look at, sorry, Mike.
No, they crumbled under the pressure tonight.
I mean, and honestly, and our friend Adam, I think, said it perfectly. If you're a head coach needy team, and you are looking at John Gannon from the Eagles as the defensive coordinator, you're sitting him down being like, what was that? What was that second half, dude? Your defense crumbled. And granted, it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, we expect you to give up some points, but you got him to 14 points in the first half, and then you gave up 27 in the second. What was that?
It was a huge collapse. And Dan was on with us this morning as we were talking about, and we said that the Eagles defense had to play at full outright momentum the whole game, and that didn't happen. Dan, we had talked about that this morning. What happened with Philadelphia going into the second half? What changed?
Maybe they got too comfy, but another thing that I also said earlier was that I felt like Philadelphia was never really tested throughout this entire season or playoffs. This was like their first true test where you have a good team, that you can argue is equally as good as you are, that challenged you, that gave it a run for your money, and at the end of the day, they came out on top over you. Like, this was their first true test where they actually had to make plays and try to come from behind. And how would Nick Sirianni adjust his coaching style to try to win the game? And I thought the Eagles would pass the test. They kind of didn't because they lost. So I think they got a little too comfy, and when all said and done, when they had to make big plays to try to come back into the game, I gotta be honest with you, the coaching wasn't that great, and I think they just panicked a little bit.
I think a couple of things too. I totally agree with you, Dan. I mean, it's funny because people were talking about this Philly defense, and they're like, "Oh, this defense is so good," and I'm like, is it really though? Because look at the teams they've played, and then look. I mean, Mark, we can attest. Look at the second time they played Dallas. Dak lit them up, and Cooper Rush almost came back against them when Dallas played in the first time. So it's like I do not see where this defense is like an elite defense and like one of the best. And I wonder if they got lulled into a sense of security after the Mahomes ankle injury. I wonder if they thought, oh, he can't run anymore, so let's play backup coverage because he can't run. And then all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes is bursting 20-yard runs left and right.
And I think Noah makes a great point right there, is that the moment you saw Mahomes limping over to the sideline, everybody's like, oh, God. Immediately, I'm saying he's going to go in halftime. They're going to drain that ankle, and they're going to shoot him up with enough stuff that he's going to be able to come out and play pain-free. As I said, Aaron Rodgers knows how that is. You see his eyes at the third quarter. So, personally, I think Noah might have just hit the nail right on the head with the Mahomes injury. Did Philadelphia get too comfortable?
To your point on the defense, this is regular season. Second in yards allowed, first in sacks, third in turnover differential. They didn't have a sack, and they didn't force a turnover.
Yeah.
And realistically, honestly, that's probably the biggest play of the game is the Nick Bolton fumble return.
Yeah.
That's a huge play. By the way, he would have had a second one, too.
No, that was
the right call.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm saying he could have had a second one.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't think
Then we
there's
could have
ever
had
been
a
a
conversation about Nick Bolton as your Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Because he was all over the place for that defense.
He was tremendous.
He was good. He was really good. I mean,
he was fantastic.
Their front didn't show up, but
this just this team is something else. Andy Reid, it's crazy because if you had told me back when Andy Reid got fired from Philadelphia that he'd become an argument for one of the best coaches of all time, I would have thought you were crazy. I've been like, no way. He was decent, but not this. And I mean,
this too. No, they moved up. What was it? 17 spots
to get Mahomes.
Sat him on the bench for a year to play Alex Smith.
By the way,
Which was the right move.
Can I just say real quick? I've heard a great story about them drafting Mahomes. Before Mahomes went into his interview with Andy Reid, the offensive coordinator wanted Patrick Mahomes so bad, whoever it was at the time, they actually gave Mahomes the plays that Andy Reid was going to question Mahomes on so Mahomes could study them exactly. Because that's how badly the OC wanted Mahomes.
Was it still Matt Nagy at that point?
I think it was Nagy. He gave Mahomes all the plays so that way he would ace the interview with Reid so they would go get him.
I mean, Mahomes has done some amazing things his time in the league. Is Mahomes destined to be the only one to do this? All 10 fingers have a ring.
That's a little pushing it. Because here's the thing. And I said that he could challenge Brady for greatest QB of all time. I still don't think anyone's going to ever touch Brady at 7 because you are talking about playing until you're 45. Brady was winning rings until he was 43.
Right.
As much as we love Mahomes, we have to admit he's not going to play until he's probably 35 even because the way he plays, injuries are going to mount up and he's not going to be able to last that long.
Well, even that
one is going to do what Tom Brady did.
Yeah, I mean that ankle alone, has been banged up so many times, and he had 2 weeks off, and he still wasn't 100%. So yeah,
Brady's probably going to need some type of surgery on his ankle.
Right. I think the reason that Brady is so good because he was so longevity. It was longevity. He just stuck around for so long because you figure, let's say Brady gets another ACL tear in like 2018.
Right.
He ain't coming back.
Even sooner than that. You can go.
Even sooner than that. So there go 2 Super Bowls right there. And so, I mean, it is just, I don't think anyone's going to touch Brady at 7, but Mahomes could definitely get to 4 or 5. Easy.
Okay.
The depth of the league also, because the Chiefs, the Bengals aren't going away.
The Bills aren't going away.
Bills aren't going away. Baltimore isn't going away.
If the Dolphins get Dolphins, they could be big next year.
Baltimore is now looking for routes to trade Jackson because they're $100 million apart.
Well, you got the franchise tag, so you can tag a trade.
I don't think they will. I think the Lamar experiment has failed. I'm sorry. Look, the guy is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. He can run as good as Jalen Hurts, if not better. He can't throw worth a lick. He's another Tim Tebow, and I'm sorry to put it that way.
His pocket awareness.
I can't go that far, Mark. I think he's made some incredible throws in the league. I think
go watch his tape week 1 against the Jets.
Well, it depends on the situation. If he's rolling out of his pocket, fine. If he's in the pocket, he's dreadful. I mean,
still, it's still a pretty good roster with or without him.
Yeah.
And to be fair to him, his level of talent at wide receiver in Baltimore has never been the best.
No, I mean, they paired him with the right person in Hollywood Brown, but they just never seem to get on the same page.
Right.
He led the league in drops at least 2 of those years.
Right. So, I mean, we could discuss it more later, but I mean, if they do trade him, they're getting a blockbuster deal.
Yeah. I like the Charger roster too, except they never went in the playoffs.
Well, that's something else. I mean, But I mean,
Yeah.
the AFC, I mean,
That's right. That's just the AFC.
and here's the thing. Let's look at the Chiefs' own division. Here's the thing. Now, I've said this all year. I know Russell Wilson in Denver looked dreadful. I get that. But after what they did after a new coach came in and after watching the tape on when Nathaniel Hackett was head coach, I'm honestly putting 85% of the blame on Nathaniel Hackett. I think he was just that bad as a head coach. I think Denver's going to be a much improved team next year. With Sean.
I think Denver is going to be a lot better.
They'll also get the benefit of a fourth place schedule.
That's going to be
That'll
interesting.
help them.
The big thing in that division, I think Herbert is going to have a very big drop off because his new OC doesn't know squat. I had to watch what I was going to say. Remember, we are live.
Have fun there, Chargers, with Kellen Moore. Have fun with him.
I knew
I'm also curious on who's the next quarterback of the Raiders.
Yeah, because we now know it can't be Brady.
Right, and
it could be Rodgers.
Very possible. It could be
Right.
Aaron Rodgers.
Could be Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, dude,
Could be Rex
Devontae's trying to
Grossman.
get him over there.
And if anybody can do it, it would be Devontae Adams to convince him.
Yeah, that would convince him.
I mean, just think about that. Rodgers with Adams, Waller, and Jacobs, and Hunter Renfrow.
So he can lose in the AFC title game. He can lose in the AFC title game now.
Right. Yeah. The big key for me is we wouldn't have to face him anymore. It works for me.
Well, wait, do we play the Raiders next year? Do the Cowboys play the Raiders next year?
I'm
Hold
thinking.
on, I can look it up for you.
Oh,
Don't worry.
God.
Look it up.
Talk about like my worst dream come true.
You know what? It's one game. I wouldn't
It's one
care.
game. Actually,
One game.
for us going through the NFC, one game was never enough when it came to the Packers.
Oh God.
I
mean, the AFC, we said the AFC this year was going to be a slugfest. And I think just because of injuries and Nathaniel Hackett and
Excuse me.
Josh McDaniels, it didn't end up being that. But if these teams reload and get these things right, AFC is going to be a dogfight next year.
So to answer your question, no.
Thank
Okay.
God.
Outside of the divisional games, they play at home to the Lions, Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, and Jets.
Oh, yeah.
On the road, the Panthers, Cardinals, Niners, Chargers, Bills, and Dolphins.
Wow.
Dan, you're coming to New York. We're watching the Jet game.
That is a tough schedule. Oh my God.
I mean, it's gonna be in Jerry's world, but fine.
Okay, you drive. I'll pay for the tickets.
I'm right here, guys.
You drive. I'll pick up the tickets. Oh,
I'm sorry if you. Well, I know you're there, Noah, but I'm just saying if you think about it, the cost of a regular season ticket is what? Good seats at Arlington, probably around $250, $300 a seat, possible. Yeah. So there's $600 for 2 tickets. I mean, that probably costs us that much to drive to Texas, just straight, no stops.
Probably. I mean, it probably costs you even less than that.
Did anyone have a favorite commercial?
I thought they were very disappointing this year.
No, it wasn't.
The Michelob Caddyshack one. That for me was just great.
The Aflac Dunkin' Donuts one was kind of funny.
A couple stood out. The Pepsi one, both with Ben Stiller and Steve Martin. They had 2 separate Pepsi commercials. Those were pretty funny. I like the Crown Royal commercial where thanking Canada.
Thanking Canada.
Dave Grohl, what a legend.
And then there's always like the sappy emotional one with the dog.
Yes.
Yeah, that was nice though. I like that.
I like
nice.
the T-Mobile one with Travolta.
That made me laugh, but I was laughing harder with the one in the beginning with Bradley Cooper and his mother.
Yeah, that was good too.
That just had me laughing because that
wicked burn at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great commercial, and it takes you back to the Chunky Soup commercials where Mom was with Donovan McNabb and everybody else.
Oh my God, Mama with Donovan McNabb, what a time!
Oh, he needs a bowl of Chunky, and Mama's coming on the field with a bowl of his food. It doesn't get better, but evolving it to this was pure brilliance on the part of T-Mobile.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like the overall commercial, they're not as good as they used to be.
No.
I
Back
still
in the
miss
day,
the I
they
still
tried
miss
too
the
hard.
Bud Light Dilly Dilly.
Well, Dilly
Dilly
Dilly is
Dilly.
always going to be a
I
second.
think
Although
they,
I will say, my favorite all-time commercial, I don't know if any of you guys remember this one. It was for Blockbuster Video.
Great God.
And it was a rabbit and a guinea pig in a cage. And the rabbit is pushing down on a mouse. And he looks at the guinea pig and he goes, "Are you sure clicking this thing will help us get movies online?"
I vaguely remember something like that, but
And then
I
he's
don't
like,
remember the
and the guinea
commercial
pig's like,
fully.
try dragging it. He starts dragging the mouse. That's still the all-time favorite one of mine.
Yeah, I've seen commercials going back over 40 years, and and I'm childish. I'm a 44-year-old child. I'll admit it. Me, and as I said it this morning, was I am sorry. That became the
Oh, the WhatsApp commercials.
Yes, that became the saying. That what the Dilly Dilly was. What is I? We gotta bring it back because
Oh yeah, they gotta bring these commercials back, dude. They gotta bring some classics back.
I mean, it's the original Doritos commercials. They went cautious because of the complaints they got with the baby wanting the Dorito chip. That's what's wrong with the commercials. They're all trying to be politically correct because they don't want to offend anybody.
well, it's not just that they're just boring, and they try too hard to
Yeah.
like be memorable. When it's like you don't have to try that hard to be memorable. Like a lot
Write a
of
joke, make it simple. There you go.
a lot of these commercials in the past, they didn't try too hard. They were simple, like funny
Yeah.
things, and they're memorable. It's great.
Yeah.
It's hard to put brilliance on a TV ad nowadays with all the technology.
Yeah.
I like commercials going back where it was two guys talking. There was a Coke commercial where you had two guys on opposite sides of a border. And one guy had two guards. They're walking back and forth protecting the border. And one has has two Cokes and the other one doesn't. So to share with them, he moves the border around because it's lined in sand and puts the Coke down on that guy's side. That's thoughtful. It was funny. It was great. That's the type of commercials we need. Enough of the CGI crap.
Yeah, not Jack Harlow with the stupid ass triangle.
God, that was the worst.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know who Jack Harlow is.
He's some musician.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I like, seeing Dave Grohl was fun. I like Dave Grohl, but it's hard to say that the commercials can ever live up what they used to be. I remember when Coke and Pepsi used to have commercials combating each other every Super Bowl.
Also, the Met commercial is pretty good too, Mark.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
I didn't see the Yankees running around out there. Judge with his gavel. No, you got Brandon Nimmo sliding in on a chair.
Derek Jeter never answered no ticket sale calls.
But I'm sorry. Edwin Diaz, the closer. I love the ending. Where's Mariano? Mariano's selling cars in Bedford Hills. That's
also apparently Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman.
Batman, baby. The best Batman to ever be played.
Yeah.
Now we need Danny DeVito to be the Penguin again, and we're all in.
I don't know. I have my own pick for the best Batman.
Is it Christian Bale?
No, it's honestly, this might be a hot take. It's the newest one. It's Robert Pattinson.
Really?
Okay, I haven't seen.
And I'm not meaning that in a mean way. I'm just kind of surprised.
I love that version of Batman. I love how he plays it.
See, the Riddler, was never diabolical. So I think they went a little too much on the Riddler. That's what turned it off for me. That's why I love Jim Carrey's version, because it stayed true with the original.
Well, obviously, the Batman was definitely a more darker tone of Batman.
Yes.
And I see that's why I love Pattinson, because he played it like a depressed teenager, like Bruce Wayne. Because like Bruce Wayne's been through so much crap in his life. He shouldn't be this like playboy billionaire. He should be a depressed teenager because he's been through so much crap in his life. But
man, we went from the Super Bowl.
we
got way off topic on this.
I'm like,
honestly,
I just said to Mike, how did we get here?
But in all honesty, it's all about what we saw today.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike got his wish though. Mike and Dan got their wish from this morning. The both of them wanted E-Trade babies, and they got them in the first commercial break.
We did.
So their
Very
wish
nice.
was granted.
And that, you know what? That was a pretty good one too.
I actually enjoyed it this year. I actually watched it because I wanted to see what it would be like, but it was actually pretty good.
It was decent. That one was pretty decent. But
Oh,
so congratulations to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs on a fantastic game. Please follow us at www.thesportinsanitynetwork.com for all our vlogs and blogs. Listen to all our podcasts on all the platforms you can, everything from Anchor to Spotify. We're there. We're also on Twitter, and I'm going to admit, I don't know the Twitter handle still perfect. We're going to go to Dan.
At S Insanity Real. That is the network Twitter on both. Yeah, Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. That's the handle on Twitter and Facebook.
As someone who is on the board, you would think I would know this.
It's
But
all good. I forgive you.
for Vice President Danny Boy Reginald, Noah the Weatherman Trombley, Andy Reid, who made the trip in tonight, and me, Old Ops Guy, we thank you for putting up with the insanity yet again. And as we all know,